So this morning, we're going to talk about how to be happy all the time. Yeah, you're smiling. You know where I'm going. And I'm not going to make an assumption that we can or can't. I'm going to walk you through 7 weeks. And we're going to take it from the approach of Paramhansa Yogananda. This is actually a book that Paramhansa Yogananda wrote. If you're not familiar with Paramhansa Yogananda, he wrote the autobiography of a yogi. And he became famous in the United States through the Self-Realization Center. It's also known as Kriya Yoga. And so he has millions and millions of devotees all over the world. And he wrote this book, and I thought it would be interesting to take this Eastern perspective and see how we can fit it into our lives and better understand it. And so when I was going through my ritual of the morning, I have a ritual on Sunday. And my ritual is I wake up like 5 o'clock. I come downstairs. I write my daily thought. I send out my daily thought to the universe via all social media. I then go into a 30-minute meditation. I come out of the meditation. I then take my dog, Bailey, for a 45-minute prayer walk. And that normally gets me in the mood, and then I do my breakfast, where I cook my beautiful vegan breakfast, and then I come downstairs and I sit downstairs and just contemplate, what am I going to talk about? Today something came over me that was different. So I sat down in meditation. And when I sat down in meditation, it was like this. And I was thoroughly awake, but I was gone. And it was an hour and 8 minutes later, I opened my mind or my eyes and came back into the world, and a sense of euphoric peace had embodied everything that I was. And then I heard a ding on my computer, and it was an email. And I get daily thoughts by Sadhguru. Do you all know who Sadhguru is? He is an incredible Indian, I'm going to call him a mystic. He's got millions upon millions upon millions of followers in India. He's come to the United States. I've seen him. He's got a beautiful energy, very well-educated man. But this is what he said this morning. If everything you do is results-oriented, your very existence becomes purely functional. Soak that one in. If your existence is result-oriented, if you are there and you are just doing all the time, your very existence becomes result-oriented. And what happens then is you're never being. Because you're doing results, you're doing. There's a time to be, and for me, the meditation this morning allowed me to be. It allowed me to connect to the divine within me. It allowed me to connect to the greater that I am. It allowed me to release all of my ego, all of my thoughts, all of the nonsense going on in my mind, and be present with the all. I connect that to being with the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother is an aspect of the infinite that is intuitive, that is about being. If you were here for meditation this morning, and you heard Jean do the meditation, and you noticed in the background there is a music, and the music is by this magnificent composer by the name of Kurt Van Sickle. And the song is called O Divine Mother. That's going to be the theme of every meditation we do on Sundays before service from now on. I'm going to start anchoring in some traditional things here at Agape. I want to anchor in the fact that we are here to tune into that divine intuitive nature within us. And when we tune into that, we allow it to guide us and to direct us. It's not a power out there guiding us. It's that which is in us that is seeking to express itself and guide us. And it's going to seek to express each of us and guide us differently and uniquely as only we can be guided, because we are unique, whole, and perfect individualizations of it. And so we're going to explore then this idea of how to be happy all the time. And we're going to come to the thing that looking for happiness in all the wrong place. There's how many country songs about that? Jesus to beat the band. We're going into the stores. Oh my goodness, there's a 50% sale there. We were in Asheville, and we were in downtown Asheville, and I said, oh, let's be spiritual. Oh, there's some spiritual shops. Let's do some spiritual shopping. No. You go in and you realize it's all just trinkets. It's just tchotchkes. It's just nonsense. There's nothing about a shop that's spiritual. When you really come down to it, who are you being in a moment that's spiritual? I can remember so clearly that I didn't go to ministers' gatherings for about 3.5 years because I didn't feel connected. But something in me said, go to this gathering. And I realized the reason I didn't go to the other gatherings was I had created illusion in my mind that I couldn't connect there. Had nothing to do with anyone else. Same people were there that would have been there the last three times before, but I went in differently. And here's what I went in differently with. I went in with the idea of being of service. And when I went in being of service, I did my workshop. And for 2 hours, I got to nourish my peers. And as a result of that nourishing, I became a part. You see, to become a part of something, you've got to give of yourself to be a part of it. Otherwise, you're an outsider looking in. You're not even in it. And the problem is, I was being an outsider. I had all these gifts, and I hadn't been giving my gifts. It was a huge realization for me. A huge realization, so much so that I've already signed up and I know I'll be a presenter at the annual gathering in February where there'll be 600 to 800 people and I'll be giving my gift again. You see, John DeMartini talks about this over and over again. If you want more abundance, if you want more love, if you want more wealth in your life, then you find out what is your unique gift and you find ways to give it to more and more and more people. It is not about withdrawing into ourselves. It is not about isolation. And that's where the East comes out in a lot of ways. The East comes out and says, I'm going to go into the cave and I'm going to be by myself and I'm going to spend 20, 30 years in isolation. I'm going to be in oneness. That's not why we're in human body. We're in human body to connect, to be with each other, to be a collective. I was listening to a great talk yesterday with Seth Rogen and Russell Brand. Seth Rogen has this incredible YouTube channel where he brings in these very intellectual people of different persuasions, and they're talking about big issues in the world. And this guy's a comedian. I said, and my son turned me on. I said, why am I listening to him? But this guy goes deep. And Russell Brand goes really deep. They had a conversation in 2.5 hours. I was mesmerized yesterday. For 2.5 hours, I sat and watched. I couldn't get away because it was forcing me to think outside my box. They brought up a point, and I'm bringing it up for consideration, something to ponder. You know how everything is about becoming a bigger, right? The bigger the church, the better, right? The bigger of a monopoly, the better. Let's consolidate the airline industry. Let's get bigger. Let's consolidate this industry. Have these companies buy up. Let's consolidate this and buy up. And when you become big, I remember being in the corporate world, being a part of little, big, medium companies. When you were at a right size, not too big, it was easy to adjust. It was easy to build a culture. It was easy to build a framework and values where people could do it. The bigger you got, it didn't work. And they brought up the idea, going back, that what's happening in the world right now is there's, like Europe, why does England want to break away? I'm not saying it's right or wrong whether they want to break away, but why do they want to break away? They feel they have a unique way of being British, that they're losing that identity being a part of the EU. Is that wrong? Or is it just they feel freer to be themselves? They broke it down in that psychologists who've studied this say the groups that you want to be in are between like 75 and 100, 150 people. People who are focused on like mind. When you really break it down that way, it's really interesting. Because if you think about this group, it's exactly that. The question is, can we build this group to 150 on a Sunday and then have a second service where we build 150 group there? So they're two independent groups because there will be different energies. You know, there's a different energy if you come to a 9:30 service than if you come to an 11 o'clock service. Did you get that? There are people that if it's before 10, 10:30, it's still night. You hear me? We can look around. There were a lot of things going on yesterday in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I can look around and see we have those night owls amongst us. So it's an idea that, so we want to respect that there are groups. And even in a group of this size, there are other groups, smaller groups. There are people here who have taken classes together. There are people here who are being serviced in a specific way. There's like our board. There's the Agape board. There's a group right there. There's a group of the Agape youth program. There's a group of practitioners. There's a group of people who volunteer for doing the Sunday setup. We have our little AV group in the back. We've got our band group up here. There are all these groups. Yes, they're a part of the whole, but they're unique within. And our goal is never to make anyone fit into a mold. It's to give people freedom. When we give them freedom, we can be happy. So let's go on. Most people are dead, but they don't know it. Someone was telling me earlier today about this paintball thing where you get to shoot zombies. Well, let me tell you, you don't have to go to a paintball field to shoot zombies. Just walk into a shopping mall. You want to really see it, go to Cowboy Stadium today. Is it at Cowboy Stadium today? There'll be zombies there. And when I'm talking about zombies, I'm not knocking football. I'm saying, are the people there aware? Are they observing it, or are they getting so immersed into the outcome of a game that it controls their very being? Have you ever seen that where a person's day is just friggin' ruined because of a silly game that they're not even playing in? Think about that. It's different when you're invested and you're playing it, but if you're not playing it, why be invested in something? Invest in your life. Play in your life. Be you. It's okay to observe a game, but our role is to be the observer of our game. That's where people are dead, is that they're living their lives. They've got to come into their life, live their life, move in the direction of what they want, and observe themselves and use their spiritual tools to keep them awake. Here's the big one. Happiness is not a thing, it's a state of mind. No thing, no person, no event will make you happy. It's who you are that you bring to the party that causes the joy. Who you are comes in. And Gene's witnessed me in party mode for, God knows, 45 and a half years we've been dating. So at the ministers' gathering, there was a party on Wednesday night, and it was party mode. And I would just start letting my beautiful personality come out, and I attract. I got into my funny mode and that. And I had a posse around me. And they tended to be all the beautiful women. I don't know why. I guess I just like beautiful women. And then the guys, the other ministers there says, why is it that you're attracting these women? I said, it's just who I am. You just laugh at it because it's not that. I attracted an energy of people that were into having fun in that moment. It was about letting go and being fun. See, that's what life is about. It's not about being serious all the time. Life is about really just being with each other. Just looking at the things that we've done in our lives that are really quite funny and we're making ourselves miserable over. They're really funny. The people that I've known from the beginning, I could write a book about Bob, and it would be a comedy, but while it was going on, it wasn't a comedy. And I can do that with most people here. I'm not picking on Bob by any stretch. Bob's having tremendous success in his life by using these principles. And if you take Bob's perspective today and Bob were to look back at where he was before, it's a different world completely. And he would laugh at what he was upset about before, wouldn't you, Bob? Because Bob's become different. You see, we must become the person and have the state of mind of joy in order to experience it. It is spiritual poverty, not material lack, that lies at the core of all suffering. Spiritual poverty, not connecting to the power within us. If we're going out thinking we're this little human beingness and we're walking into the world, we feel all alone. But if we know that we're connected, think about this idea of connection. It puzzles me. It puzzles people at times. Spiritual connection is this. It's consciousness. This is what quantum physics says. Quantum physics says that consciousness is the ground of all being. That's one of its major assumptions. Well, there has to be consciousness for us to even talk to each other, to understand each other. You couldn't understand a word I'm saying if there wasn't one consciousness and we were a part of it. Because I'd be speaking in something, you'd be hearing in something else. So there is an underlying nature there that allows us to connect and communicate. That's where you want to connect to. You want to connect to that power and presence that is infinite and know that in you. And then when you go forth into the world and you're doing this, you're connected, and that brings the joy into the experience. So it's not having a material good or a person that brings you joy. It's who you are, what you bring out from within. Are you bringing out the small person, or are you bringing out the connected and whole person? Here's one. Too much of anything, no matter how pleasurable it is bad. Whatever you overindulge in eventually will cause you pain. I want you to know that many, many, many times in my life, I've tried to prove this wrong. I have tried to prove this wrong. You can pick the object and the situation. I have tried to prove it wrong, and it beats me every time. It beats me every time. How do we allow the senses, these magnificent senses that we have as human beings, experience, taste, smell, hear, speak, and feel the beauty of life? Just enough, but not too much. And then how do we do that and not be attached to having more of it? You see, the idea of not being attached to having more is the ability to be in the now. Okay, in this now, we were at this restaurant called Elements, a vegan raw restaurant there. And if you don't know, there's an app called Happy Cow. Isn't that a great name for an app? Happy Cow. And when you press it, it'll show you all the vegan or vegetarian restaurants in an area, wherever you are. I love it. I look at my thing, oh, there's a Happy Cow. I press it, and up pops Elements. And so we go to Elements that first time, the two of us, and we sit there and go, okay. And we ordered this, and I ordered this open-faced sandwich that had like a 7-grain bread. It had a vegan mayonnaise. It had avocado on it. It had some spices. It had a dressing and some cabbage on top of it. So, well, that's sort of interesting. And I bit it. I lifted it up and I bit into it. And I drooled. It was so simple. It was so good. And I was present in the moment with it. The next day, we go back, we bring friends. I have the same thing. It was good. Only a little bit of drool. The next day I went back. I did. I got wise. I ordered something different. Guess what? I got the full drool again. You see, we have that memory. The same thing happened when I went to Denver, and Debbie knows about Denver because I tell her every time she goes to Denver, you got to go to Panzano. Panzano's incredible, and you order this mushroom crepe. Again, it was at a minister's gathering. I had this mushroom crepe. I bit into it, and I had the most incredible orgasmic experience in the world. And my prayer partner, Marcia, was with me, and I took a bite of it, and I said, open. And I gave her it. And she too had the experience. The next time it was good. It was the first time that was really good. She can have too much of something. And so you want to keep an idea that we're here to experience more. We're here to experience more. Happiness can be secured by the exercise of self-control, cultivating habits of plain, simple living and high thinking. I really like that. Because I know that in our home, Jean and I are constantly decluttering it. Getting rid of all the stuff that no longer serves. You know, I go into homes and they've got tchotchkes everywhere. All that means to me is it's more to dust. I start asking the question, what is it serving? How can I be present? What is it I need in my life? What makes me feel good in my life? And it's habits of self-control. In other words, don't go buy something just because you're in a mood. My mother taught me, we were simple people growing up. We didn't have a lot of money. We were really poor growing up compared to the people we were around. And my mother taught me, if you buy something, buy quality. You're better off having a few very quality things than a lot of non-quality things. Because quality lasts. And when you're buying quality, it means you're putting emphasis into it. You're putting thought into it. You're actually considering, why am I buying this? So Bonnie, who's on the board, she's here, I know, I saw her, she's in the back row. She works at Nebraska Furniture Mart. And Bonnie knows that I went in over a course of a year and sat in this specific chair every time I went into Nebraska Furniture Mart. And it was going to be my chair, my Lee chair. And that takes a lot of purpose. But what I found is this chair is like this wide. You know, your typical lazy boy is about this wide, right? About like this. This one was this wide. And I could be in it. And Jean immediately came and sat next to me and says, we can cuddle in this chair. And I said, time out. Time out. This is not a cuddle chair. This is not a cuddle chair. This is Lee's chair. Because I had ideas. This is where I sit and I can get into my lotus position and be very comfortable meditating. This is my chair where I can lean to the side and I can read. This is my chair where I do all my phone calls when people call me for counseling. And this is my chair where I can put my feet up over there, come back, put my computer up and watch YouTube videos and learn. This is my chair where I get to just do what I want and no one can tell me what to do with it. But I didn't just buy it the first time. I came back. It was the 5th time I came back and sat in the chair that I finally bought. I wanted to make sure it was the right chair because I tend to be impulsive. Hell, I've only been on 4 or 5 dates and I asked Jean to marry me. That's impulsive. Now I'm blessed that it worked out. But it's impulsive. And I know each of you has impulsive ideas within you. The question is, can you sit with it a while? Can you just sit with it a while and let it resonate and see if it still holds that value after a day, 2 days, a week, a month? That's why there's courtship before we marry. there's a breaking in period, a period of getting a period of getting past the infatuation. Because past the infatuation stage means that we will look at the totality of the person, the yin and the yang, and can we accept and bless both of them and see how they support and grow us. That's why there's real courtship. The last point I want to talk about is when we help others attain abundance and happiness, we begin to live in the continual cycle of giving and receiving. You see, this is it. When we find that which is in us that is loving and joyful and brings us joy, and we've got that, we've nurtured, we become self-loving, we become self-accepting, and now we've got that, well, now it's just not be, now it's our time to give to others, to share with others, to be the presence with others. See, you don't have to give. If you are a loving being, you can walk into a room and just by being you, the room gets lifted. Because the light that you are, and you are the light, causes the darkness to disappear. Because no matter how much the darkness wants, when a light comes into the room, the darkness bows and falls away. The key thing is, can you find your light? That's your journey. Find out what it is in you. What is the light in you? And once you discover it, how do I give it? How do I share it with others? And when you do that, you'll be living a life full of happiness. Let's go within.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.